This is from Spoken English Shelter of Bujingaravu Tammisetti. Take care of adverb position. You know, many people are actually interested in expressing their ideas clearly and effectively in their routine conversations. They want to speak English very fast. They want to speak in English fluently. They want to draw the attention of the listeners. Above all else, their aim is to get command over English language. No doubt, that's the most admirable thing on their part. Okay? But unfortunately, some of them feel difficult in using a few adverbs properly in their sentences. Moreover, some adverbs often make them get confused in many conversational contexts. What should you do in those situations? You must know the correct placement of the adverbs in the sentences you use. Okay? So, you should be aware of them and care for your proper usage in your daily English conversations. Whoever wants to speak English impressively and effectively, and whoever wants to draw the attention of the listeners can't but get command over the usage of adverbs and adverbial phrases. What will happen if you change the position of an adverb you have to use in your English conversations? What trouble will you face when you change the adverb position in your conversational sentences with or without knowledge? How can you overcome your wrong usage of adverbs in the sentences you have to use? Do you know, even though the grammatical structure of your sentence is 100% correct, it gives your listener a very hard and nonsensical meaning by your changing the placement of adverbs. Most likely, you have to bear a great loss. Strictly speaking, your incorrect usage of adverbs will definitely defame you, not to speak of your good ideas. What's more, the expressing ability of your ideas may be found weak and awkward. Here is a thrilling and astonishing incident for you about the wrong usage of adverbs in your sentences. Listen to me carefully, you will get surprised at it, okay? Once my friend took me to the house of his relative on the occasion of some function. Somebody of his relatives inquired him in English about the health of his grandmother. In fact, she became sick and was bedridden in that time. Her recovery was found hopeless. In a word, she was not out of danger then. Every member of his family was suspicious of her restoration from sickness. But to the surprise of all, just in a week days, she recuperated and recovered her strength as before she had. The relative asked him again about the health condition of his grandmother. My friend was interested eagerly in answering the relative in English as he was learning spoken English in those days by joining in a famous institute. He answered him immediately like this: My grandma didn't die happily. The relative got stunned. The death news shocked him. He stood senseless for a few minutes. Why? The relative knew that she was still alive then. Actually, the words of my friend gave the sarcastic meaning like this: My grandma didn't die a happy death. But my friend didn't know what ironical answer he had given unwittingly. What a tragic fact it is. Here is one thing to be kept in mind as per the placement of adverb. The adverb of manner happily was used in the end of the sentence. Of course, the structure of the sentence was grammatically correct, but you can find something wrong here. What's it? You know, end position of any adverb gives more emphasis to that adverb. So his idea of expression became very strong by using that adverb in the end of the sentence, giving a wrong meaning, especially in that context. As a matter of fact, he ought to say like this: Happily, my grandma didn't die. What he wanted to say then was, it was a happy thing that my grandma didn't die. He used the adverb happily after the verb in this conversation. Even though the structure he used was grammatically correct, the usage of adverb gave a different meaning. by modifying strongly the verb die. By using this adverb happily at the beginning of the sentence, it must have modified the entire sentence, giving correct meaning to this idea. But it didn't do so. Unluckily, all that was done because of his being lack of sufficient communication skills in English. You know, adverbs sometimes modify entire assertive sentences. In this case, it must be used first in the sentence. By wrong placement of adverbs, the sentence you use can reflect other peculiar meanings. So be careful about the position of adverbs in any sentence you want to speak or you have to use hereafter. A few days after that incident, he took me to the house of some other relative on the eve of some marriage function. Some relative asked him, according to the news he got, whether his grandmother had died by inches. In fact, she breathed her last in course of her sleeping one fine auspicious day. My friend thought that the word happily was used by him by mistake in the past. He changed the word as sadly instead of happily, because the death of his grandma was a sad thing. He soon said to him, sadly, my grandma didn't die. The relative got trembled at his words. Why, the words of my friend gave the meaning like this. It was a sad thing that my grandma didn't die. How foolish it is. What a laughing incident it is. Actually, he ought to say like this. My grandma didn't die sadly, which means my grandma didn't die a sad death. Here the adverb used at the beginning of the sentence modifies the entire assertive sentence. So in this case he has to use like this. My grandma didn't die sadly, in which the adverb sadly modifies the verb die. By using so, it would have given more emphasis to that adverb. Then the idea of his expression would have definitely been justifiable. In reality, you can use adverbs in different positions of the sentence you want to speak according to the ideas you want to express clearly and confidently. But don't forget, adverbs happen to come as near as possible to the verbs they modify. But here is one thing to be kept in mind. Different types of adverbs favor different positions. More generally, some specific adverbs should be used in the particular places of the sentences giving some specific meanings. Why? Why should it be so? The change in the position of an adverb can change the meaning of the entire sentence to a great extent. Okay? So, always be alert at the usage of adverbs in your conversations. Thank you all for watching my video. Wish you all the best. Bye for now.